thank you so much for joining us this evening to learn more about the Center for Community Engagement here at the University of Rochester. My name is Leif Johansson, and I'm going to be off screen for most of this. I'm an admissions counselor in Wallace Hall on our lovely River campus, but I am going to just go ahead and turn over the floor this evening to Glenn Sarasoletti, our Assistant Dean of Students and Director of the Center for Community Engagement here at the University of Rochester, so we can learn more about all of the opportunities to get involved in the local community and learn about community engagement here at Rochester, which is a big part of our identity as a university community. And so I'm so excited that you guys have all come to learn more about it. So I'll turn the floor over to Glenn.
Thanks so much, Leif, and good evening, everyone. If indeed it is evening where you're located, I want to reiterate the invitation I put in the chat a moment ago. If you've just arrived, you might not have seen it yet. I'll paste it again, but I invite you to use the chat to introduce yourself and share where you're from, and share a little bit about any community engagement experiences you might have had up till now that have been meaningful to you, or if not that, then any that you are interested in pursuing at Rochester. My name is Glenn Sarasoletti, as Leif said, and in addition to serving as Assistant Dean of Students and Director of the Center for Community Engagement at the University of Rochester, I'm also an alumnus. So I had the experience of being a student here myself, although many years ago, as our former Dean of Students and University Vice President used to say, when the Earth's crust was cooling. So I'm really pleased to be joined tonight by some current students who will be talking about their experiences and involvement through the Center for Community Engagement here at the university. You'll hear from them a little bit later on, but I'm going to start out by giving an overview about the Center for Community Engagement and the work that we do and the programs that we offer. So with no further ado, I'll proceed with that. So the Center for Community Engagement is the place at the university that connects students, faculty, and other members of the university community to communities beyond campus in ways that can deepen your learning, can foster personal and professional growth, and also strengthen those communities with which they're engaging. And we do that. We're part of one of the units in the Office of the Dean of Students, as you can see on this screen. And we do pursue that mission through both programs that span both the co-curricular and the curricular realm. So both credit-bearing programs and as well as non-credit co-curricular programs. And you can see a list of those on the screen now. And don't feel like you have to memorize them. I'm going to briefly skim through slides that touch on most of these. But my point here is to share with you that we have ways for students to connect with the community that are integral to the curriculum here, and also ways that go beyond that. And at Rochester, as you may already have learned, we see those realms as complementary and inseparable, really. That the life outside of the classroom, whether that's in the residence halls, whether that's in student organizations on campus, or indeed whether that's tutoring students in one of the local schools, or while students are pursuing studies overseas, that all of those things are interrelated, and you can't sort of turn your brain on when you go in the classroom and turn it off when you leave the classroom or the laboratory or the library. That learning happens in all of those spaces. So we're excited to be part of the learning that happens beyond the classroom and indeed beyond the campus. And our focus in the Center for Community Engagement really has a strong focus on the local communities here in Rochester beyond campus. So I'll start by summarizing and briefly touching on some of the various co-curricular programs that we offer. And the first of those is Wilson Days of Engagement. You'll hear more about this a little bit later because one of our speakers this evening, Ray Diaz, has been our Wilson Day coordinator this year. But Wilson Days is a program that's a treasured university tradition, more than 30 years old now, and takes place when students first arrive during Welcome Week, and it helps to introduce students to the local community, to help them get to know each other as they go off campus and into the community, pursuing projects one day during Welcome Week. I had a meeting this morning. Tentatively, we're scheduled for Friday, the 26th of August this year, when this will be happening. And then students are also learning about the importance of community engagement here as part of the undergraduate curriculum at Rochester. So again, you'll hear more about Wilson Days of Engagement a bit later. Student organizations are a hugely important dimension of life for undergraduates at Rochester. And in the realm of community engagement and political engagement, there's no exception to that either. I've listed a smattering of the community engagement organizations. We have more than 20 student-led organizations on campus that focus on community engagement. You can see some of those listed here. And we have a website, the Campus Community Connection website, or CCC, where you can find all of those organizations listed. I'll put a link to that website in the chat if you want to pull that up separately on a screen either now or at a later time. But there's something for everyone when it comes to student organizations. And in the very first week of every semester, but certainly for new students, you have the opportunity to learn more about these student organizations at our student activities fair, and to sign up and get involved, again, in your first days arriving on campus. So terrific opportunity to get involved and collaborate with others in creating positive change beyond campus, and also building leadership skills too. Political engagement is an important dimension of the work in the Center for Community Engagement. We recognize the importance of creating systemic change through advocacy and policy change. And we therefore convene a student-led advisory group or committee for political engagement, the focus of which is to promote nonpartisan political engagement by students, with a particular focus on voter registration. So here you see members of our Committee for Political Engagement several years ago interacting with one of our speakers for Meliora Weekend, our alumni and family weekend that takes place each fall. And the speaker in this case was former chair of the Republican National Committee, Michael Steele, who spoke on campus. And our committee hosted an eat and greet opportunity for students with Mr. Steele on that occasion. So the Committee for Political Engagement, they're doing a voter registration drive next Tuesday, in fact, on campus in Wilson Commons to celebrate National Pretzel Day. So you might miss that one, but don't miss the fun when you get to campus. A couple of our other key co-curricular programs in the Center for Community Engagement are LEAP and TOUR. LEAP stands for Learning and Exploring at Play. That's a play-based early childhood literacy tutoring program through which undergraduates serve as tutors and team leaders, working with kindergartners through fourth graders on campus. And it's the TOUR program stands for Transition Opportunities at the University of Rochester. And in that program, undergraduates serve as academic coaches and social mentors for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities who come to our campus through a partnership with the local BOCES district. And the purpose is for them to be, for our campus to become a more inclusive place for neurodiversity through that program. Both of those programs represent opportunities for students to be involved in community engagement activities on campus. And both of those programs are paid opportunities, so student employment opportunities where students are paid for their community engagement involvement. The Rochester Urban Fellows Program is one of our flagship and most beloved programs by undergraduates. It's a summer program, takes place during the summer, so students typically are not taking courses, and they can devote their full time and attention to being immersed in the local community. They spend 4 days a week pursuing projects with local community-based organizations, and 1 day a week when we convene them on campus for seminar-style discussions of urban issues relevant to Rochester and other similar cities. And you'll hear more about the experiences of Wesley and Maddie in the Urban Fellows Program a little bit later. Finally, the Rochester Youth Year program is a full year fellowship experience for recent graduates, students who've recently completed their undergraduate degrees. So looking ahead, 4 or more years down the road for you. And here in this photo, you'll see one of our past Rochester Youth Year Fellows, Brad Willow, in the center here, standing next to Rochester's former mayor, Lovely Warren. At an event, Brad was serving as a Rochester Youth Year Fellow full-time for that year with the city's Office of Community Wealth Building. And this was a business opening that his office helped to support develop at the Greenhouse Cafe on East Main Street in Rochester. Moving on to our curricular programs, the key feature here is the college's Certificate of Achievement and Community Engaged Learning. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the components of the certificate program. It combines individualized coursework that you will pursue, could be in a variety of different academic departments. And you complete community engagement seminars that are offered through the Center for Community Engagement. And then you also complete a capstone project. So I'll talk about each of those a bit more in the next couple of slides. The coursework you need to, and here we're getting down into the weeds a little bit. Don't feel like you need to remember all of this, but students complete 12 credits of coursework at any point in your academic career. Could be in your first year, could be in your third year, could be in your senior year. And these are courses, again, that could be offered in any academic department. And we work closely with faculty members to help them to connect with community partners beyond campus for the purpose of the courses that they're teaching. And you see some on the right side of the screen here, you see some examples of featured courses that we've had in the past, but there's many, many more, again, across the curriculum. So 12 credits of coursework plus these two credit seminars offered through the Center for Community Engagement that really seek to introduce you to key concepts in community engaged learning and help you to start connecting with local organizations beyond campus. And then the advanced seminar is to support students as they develop and then implement a capstone project. And here I'll click onto the final slide about the capstone. So the capstone is intended to be supervised jointly by a faculty member on campus, as well as by a community partner beyond campus. And we expect that you complete at least 100 contact hours in the course of pursuing that capstone project to address a community need identified by the community partner and of interest to you and in your studies. Your coursework for the capstone, or excuse me, for the certificate can overlap entirely with other coursework that you're pursuing for your major, minor, or clusters at the university. So it can fit in very easily. We've had students, in fact, we currently have graduating seniors who are completing the capstone project also as part of their honors project for their major. And at the end of it all, if you successfully complete the capstone project, as we have students doing right now, including Wesley, you'll receive recognition on your transcript for completing the Certificate of Achievement and Community Engaged Learning. So that is in some ways the feature in our curriculum here that allows students to tie together their experiences, and often including co-curricular experiences, as is the case with Wesley, where he's done community engagement work involved with his fraternity, as you'll hear later. This slide here gives you a summary of the level of involvement that we have. As you can see, over 1,000 students looking back to last academic year, 41 faculty, well over 100 different community partner organizations, and many students enrolled in community engaged courses, and many thousands, tens of thousands of contact hours of students involved with those community organizations. A list of some of the community partners that we work with in Rochester for the various programs that I've spotlighted here. And then I've featured some contact information on the right of this slide. But I think at this point, I want to stop my presentation. And so I'm going to stop my screen share. Bear with me just a moment as I do that. And I will turn over to our featured speakers, who are the three students who are joining me this evening. And Maddie Hill Glover is the one that I'm going to look to first, because Maddie has another commitment. It's a busy time of year in April at the end of the semester. And so Maddie needs to be on her way to another event shortly. But Maddie, if I can ask you to unmute. Maddie is a
Yes.
graduating senior. And Maddie, can you share a bit about your experience with community engagement?
Of course. Thank you for that great presentation, Glenn. As Glenn, I've told you guys, my name is Maddie. I'm a senior studying environmental health and psychology, and I'm from New Jersey. I've worked as a communications assistant for CCE since I was a sophomore, and I've really enjoyed all of the time that I've spent working for CCE. Community engagement has been, a pretty life-changing aspect of my undergrad career and education, because it's exposed me to opportunities that I wouldn't have encountered or maybe even considered if I took the normal STEM trajectory. I am an environmental health major, so a lot of my focus is doing and completing STEM activities. So things like shadowing physicians or working in labs. But after I stayed in Rochester the summer after my freshman year, I realized what a great and special community it was. And I wanted to connect my peers more with the Rochester community and the city. And I wanted to play a role in getting my peers to engage with the community as much as possible. So working at CCE kind of opened the doors for various community engaged opportunities that I've completed during my time as an undergrad, like urban fellows and some of the research I did last summer. As Glenn stated before, I was an urban fellow over the summer of 2020, and I provided communication services for a local community organization called Homesteads for Hope. And during that time, I also attended urban issues seminars and learned about Rochester's history and, the history of its community. And that was like a really great experience. And it kind of immersed me in the world of community engagement, and it made me a better student and a better, community member. Yeah. Yes. And I also completed the Sustainability Community Engaged Fellowship Program last summer, where I researched greenhouse gas emissions in New York City. And that was also a great opportunity that kind of combined my interests of research and environmentalism, as well as community engagement, because they're all public health issues, greenhouse gas emissions. And so overall, I found that my work for CCE and, my work as an urban fellow and my work during the fellowship really complemented the work that I did for my major. And I found that, applying the concepts that I learned as a communications assistant, as a community engaged student, helped me become a better student overall at the university. Yeah, and so now, I'm continuing my work by completing a health policy internship as a diversity and community engagement intern at Villa of Hope, which is a local nonprofit here in Rochester. So yeah, I hope to keep continuing my work, my community engaged work, and I really have loved working for CCE over these past few years. Yes, any questions?
Thanks so much, Maddie. Yeah, if you, as I put in the chat, if you have any questions for Maddie in particular, because Maddie has to step away shortly, please submit those now, and we can have Maddie respond to any questions before she goes.
Would love to respond.
I'll just highlight that Maddie, your studies in public health, that is certainly one of the more community engaged majors at the university. It's possible to pursue this in just about any major, or for students of any major to get involved with community engagement, but we see a lot of public health students do that. And in fact, the curriculum in public health is designed to support that in any
Absolutely.
of the public health related majors.
Yeah, I think, engaging yourself with CCE and the rest of the Rochester community, like I said before, can only make you a better student no matter what major that you pursue. And I guess it just worked out really neatly that I was also a public health major. Yeah.
The other thing I want to spotlight is just that while I've featured some of the main programs through the Center for Community Engagement in my presentation earlier, we by no means try to sort of monopolize all of the community engagement opportunities. Rather, our aim is to try to create a campus climate where community engagement is happening everywhere. And so I'm pleased to see that, happening in lots of other departments, and there are other programs and opportunities at the university. For example, the David T. Kern Center for Leadership and Diversity at the university runs the Upward Bound program that a lot of students get involved with, also doing educational outreach. And the internships that you've pursued through your academic departments are another example of how students can pursue credit-bearing community engaged opportunities. Well, thank you, Maddie. Not seeing any questions coming in.
Yes.
And I know you have to be on your way, but thanks for joining us this evening.
Yes, this is great.
And I will turn next to Ray Diaz, who
Hi, guys.
is, hi, Maddie. Ray is also a graduating senior for the second time, I guess you could say. Ray is Take 5 scholar this year, but just finishing up his 5th year at the university. And so Ray, I'll turn it over to you to share about your experience in community engagement.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Yeah, as he mentioned, my name is Ray. I'm a senior for the second time. I'm part of the Take 5 program offered by the university. So I get to do an extra year to pursue an interest of mine, which I chose German and sign language. I majored in business and English, and I'm originally from Chile in South America. And I think that I can start by explaining a little bit how I first got involved with community engaged work. Back towards the end of my sophomore year, I took a community engaged class, which was the first time I got the chance to, learn outside of the classroom. This was a class where we spent most of the semester working directly with local business owners. We interviewed them. We got to know about their stories, the work they do. We had a capstone project at the end of the semester, and after that class, the professor I was working with actually offered me the opportunity to keep doing research with her during the summer, community engaged research. So I further got involved with the local community, and I worked on a survey relating both business owners and the local community. And as I mentioned before, that was like the first chance I ever got to put what I had been learning in class, actually applied outside of the classroom. And that was a very exciting experience for me. I felt that's something I didn't really think much about before college, and I just had like a very great time. And I was looking for more opportunities like that once I finished with this project. And luckily for me, I got to this extra year of college, which gave me the time to work at CCE as the Wilson Days of Engagement Program Coordinator. And in this role, basically, once I first started during the summer, I was responsible for planning our alongside tradition for, as Glenn mentioned before, for about 30 years now, Wilson Day, which is a large-scale day of service where we introduce our incoming class of students to a local community through different service opportunities. And I got to experience that twice, actually, as a first year, and then as a sophomore, I was working as a residential advisor. So I was in charge of my own hall with students, and I got to take them out to a working site. So I had experience doing that multiple times. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, that was, it was, when I experienced that as a student, it was very rewarding to get to experience what the local community does in terms of community service, community engagement. And then in my role, I felt it felt very rewarding to have a more active role in that regard, actually being able to work on something that I could see students were enjoying, students were gaining something from it. And I guess that's the most important thing about my experience with community engaged work. I feel that as students, not only you're part of the school community and you get to um, meet new people, meet new students, interact with professors, and learn more about the school. But at the same time, you have a responsibility to be engaged with the community around the school. Large number of students eventually end up moving off campus, and that means that they become members of the Rochester community. So I've just felt it's been very fulfilling to me to become part of a community outside of my home. You know, as I mentioned, I'm international student, so I don't really have family nearby. And in the end, that's why I become. I'm a member of the Rochester community. So I just think it's very important to really put yourself out there and pursue those opportunities. And I am both involve yourself and learn more about people and also find ways to contribute and help the community that you're part of.
Thank you, Ray. As with Maddie, I'll ask if there are any questions for Ray. Please submit those in the Q&A feature, or you can put them in the chat. But correct me if I'm wrong, Ray. You don't have to depart right away. So if you don't think of a question right away, you can certainly ask again in a few minutes.
Mhm.
And with that, I will turn next to Wesley Mon. And Wesley is a junior student, class of 2023. And Wesley, I'll turn the floor over to you to share about your involvement and experience with community engagement at Rochester.
Yeah, hello everyone. Like Glenn said, my name is Wesley. I'm a junior. I'm majoring in environmental studies, which, just like public health, is another major that has a lot of opportunities for community engagement. But yeah, community engagement had a huge impact not only on my college experience, but really my whole career trajectory. I originally came in actually an environmental health major like Maddie is now, but throughout the years, I kind of shifted more to environmental science and doing research on climate change. But when I did Urban Fellows, which I won't talk too much about because Maddie kind of covered it, but I was placed with a nonprofit that was basically fighting for reforms to the local energy system to be more sustainable and also eliminate some financial burden from the energy system. But from that, I kind of reflected a lot over that summer and realized that I didn't want to go into science and I wanted to work alongside these people that were like fighting to put this science into action and cause the change. So these community engaged experiences really kind of shaped me into who I am today and the trajectory I'm on. And I'm really thankful for that opportunity. But yeah, community engaged learning is a great program. Like Glenn said, when you take your courses, they can overlap with your major requirements. So it's pretty easy to fit it in. Even if your major may not have a lot of community engaged courses, you may be doing a minor or your clusters, there will be options for you to make it work. But I took a lot of really fun classes. I started the program when another peer of mine, Bree, who used to be an assistant for the department, told me about it and got me involved. And I started off by taking this class called Food Justice, Urban Farming, and Social Practice. And we learned about the history of food apartheid in Rochester and just the United States as a whole. And we learned that from a professor. But then for the second half of our lecture, we would actually go to a community garden in Rochester and learn from the people in that neighborhood about how that's felt locally, what they do to address it. And then we got to farm together to actually see how a community garden can address that issue. So it was really cool because we could learn about the problem, but then also learn about and contribute to the solution in one neighborhood. So it was a really great learning experience. And I wasn't too familiar with the specifics of food apartheid and all of the moving parts. So it was really great. And I've taken some community engaged courses that had me do some research for even the dining center on campus and how they can improve things for their workers. I'm actually just writing a paper right now that's a partnership with my Urban Fellows placement, doing research on the actual like policy changes that need to happen to kind of make some of these energy changes realistic and roll them out. But yeah, my capstone project is really the most exciting part of the community engaged learning curriculum. I kind of tried to bridge together an issue with an organization off campus with some changes that could be made on campus. I've been in a fraternity since I was a freshman, and especially since I'm so involved with community engagement, being in these classes kind of made me realize that the philanthropy that we have been doing just wasn't that effective. And I started building relationships with the Rochester Mutual Aid Network just from volunteering and doing some partnerships with them in my a cappella group. But they really wanted to get some more capacity building, and they felt that the student body was an untapped resource for them because they're a new organization that's only been around for 2 years. So I ended up doing my project, which it disconnected my fraternity from our international philanthropy partner, which basically we were just kind of giving money to them and we didn't communicate with them. We didn't really know the impact that their funds were having. And they're already a pretty well supported organization while there are issues that were more pressing in our local community. So now we shifted to a community engagement model where we're actually in communication with the organization, and we meet with the mutual aid network on a bi-weekly basis to just hear what they need in the moment. And then we can actually tailor our efforts to what is needed and wanted in the community in that moment. So not only do we know that our contributions are efficient, but we actually get to see it happening with our own eyes, and it provides context for students who may not have ended up in community engagement to contribute to some of that change and get some context on social issues outside of our campus. So it's been a really rewarding experience. It definitely was a lot of work, but so rewarding. And I've had a lot of help from Glenn and the two program leaders for community engaged learning. But yeah, it's taught me so many skills just on like project management, communication, effectively leading. So like just more than the context that you expect to get from community engagement. It really challenges you not only as a student, but an individual in a really stimulating way. So just kind of adding on to what Maddie said, it really helps you become not only a better student, but a better person overall. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about community engaged learning?
Thank you, Wesley. Yes, again, please submit your questions using the Q&A feature or in the chat. Wesley, can I prompt and ask you to, forgive me if I missed it, but your plans for the summer, not directly related maybe to community engaged learning, but I think very exciting. And you told me earlier in the semester how you feel like your experiences through community engagement have kind of put you on a pathway that are going exciting places.
Yeah. So with community engagement, kind of shifting my focus from scientific research to more like political work or nonprofit advocacy. I'm a little behind on that because I wasn't planning on studying that at first. So I actually got a lot of help from the fellowships office on campus, which is like Center for Community Engagement Fellowships Office, two of like the best. You should reach out to them as soon as you get on campus or earlier if you can. But they told me about the Public Policy and International Affairs program, which is a nationwide nonprofit, but basically they will help students get more experience in public policy and international affairs to prepare them for grad school. So it's a bunch of coursework, and they give you one-on-one advising to help you get ready for applying for grad school and help you find the exact program that's right for you. And that really all came out of the experiences that I've had with community engagement and the work that I've been able to do with nonprofits that helped me be a good fit for the position, but also was the reason that I was even interested in political work. And it'll be at Carnegie Mellon, which is a really, really great opportunity to make more connections with staff and people who are going to be in the field that I hope to get into. So yeah, it's been very, very rewarding.
I will also add, after listening to Wesley, I feel the same way when it comes to like my future after the university. I came in as undecided. And then I eventually, I started with my English major and then my business major, which I was pretty happy with. But at the same time, I wasn't exactly sure what I want to do long term. And it was because of these experiences working directly with local businesses, local organization, community leaders that I feel a lot more confident in what I wish to do long term. I'm currently in the process of applying to jobs, but my like for the first time, I feel like if I were to tell someone about what my dream job would be, right now it would be to be working for like a nonprofit, working directly with small businesses, and that's something that I feel very excited about. As for the longest time, like the reason I actually came to the US to study in the first place is because the way the system works back home, you basically decide on a career when you apply to college at 18, and I wasn't happy with that. And it's only now, like 5 years after that, that I've actually feel confident both in the skills I've acquired through my experiences and the prospect of working in this field that made me feel like pretty excited about the future. So I just want to mention that.
Thank you so much, Ray. Yeah, I think you're both terrific examples of how you've integrated your experiences beyond campus with your studies on campus, and of course, part of that has happened by design through the community engaged coursework that you've taken. But Wesley, I just love how your capstone project has, tied in your studies and your community engaged coursework and research with your involvement in the fraternity that you've been a part of, and it's designed to sort of leave a legacy, transforming the philanthropy of that fraternity, which, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the longest standing fraternities here at the university.
It's the first one at the university.
Yeah. So, so again, if you have further questions for Wesley or Ray or me, and or any of us, and if we can't answer them, we'll turn them to life to chime in and answering those. I also want to pull my screen share back up as we get to the end of our prepared presentation here, just to invite you to imagine yourself in Rochester. And certainly I hope that the theme of our presentation here has given you some understanding and context for how community engagement is an integral part of the undergraduate experience here at the university, both in curricular pursuits as well as in co-curricular life at the university. And I hope it's helps you to imagine what it would be like for you to come here. I don't know if you have made the decision yet to commit to attending the university, but I hope that our presentation and discussion here this evening will help make it a little bit easier to see how dynamic and exciting the experience will be the experience is for University of Rochester undergraduates. The other thing that I just want to make point out that's a theme that we strive toward is that our opportunities for students really seek to create a pipeline or a continuum of engagement that spans from when you first arrive and welcome week with Wilson Day, that program that is the longstanding tradition here at the university, and there are ample opportunities for you in your first semester, and those are some of the first ones that I featured there after talking about Wilson Day. The student organization involvement is a terrific opportunity for first semester students, even taking our intro seminar in community engaged learning, or perhaps you'll encounter another community engaged course through the writing, speaking, and argument program like Ray did, or one of the other departments. All of those are ways that you might encounter community engagement in your first semester or your first year at the university. We're always looking for tutors for the LEAP program, and first year students we often have fill a number of those spots as well. So it can begin right away, and it can continue throughout your time here. You can stay for the summer and be an urban fellow. You can go study abroad like Wesley is planning to do next fall. And Wesley, I don't know if your curriculum for next fall will incorporate any community engaged courses, but the program you're going on, I know, is one that is lends itself to community engagement. So there's lots of opportunities. And as I mentioned, the Rochester Youth Year Fellowship Program also provides an opportunity for graduating students to remain here in Rochester and work full-time for a community-based organization for a full year after graduation, as a way of continuing to build up their skills and learn about the local community, but also to get transferable skills that will serve them well, whether they go on to live and work in another community, or whether they go on to medical school, as we often have students do, or whatever is next in their life. I like to say we help students to form those attachments with the local community, and to really, as one of our favorite community partners says, to fall in love with this community in ways that will then help you wherever you go in your career after graduating, and whatever you do in your career as well. So let me pause there, and Leif, have we had any questions come in Q&A? Oops, I can't hear you, Leif. It doesn't look like you're muted.
There we go. I think I'm on now. Sorry.
Yes.
We don't have any questions in the Q&A. The one thing I would add as well is that in addition to having this, obviously, as we've heard this evening, a really robust program in terms of community engagement right here in Rochester, the community engaged learning at the University of Rochester also functions really as a pipeline to being a community engaged global citizen as well. We have a lot of students going off and becoming Fulbright scholars from the University of Rochester every single year. We have, I know, a handful of students who will join the Peace Corps after college. We have a handful of students that do AmeriCorps after college, some of which I know will do their AmeriCorps projects right here in Rochester, but also all over the rest of the country as well. So there are a lot of ways to keep engaging and find neat opportunities after U of R, but using U of R as kind of that touch point for going off from there as well. Other than that, I just love this picture of campus. I'm glad that you brought it up there. And you can kind of see that, even though we have this nice, real campus environment, we have the quads and we have these nice buildings and whatnot, we very much are in the city of Rochester. We're less than 2 miles away from, downtown Rochester, just up the river there. So, we are in it, and it's very, very easy to get involved in a lot of stuff going on in the greater Rochester area from U of R.
Absolutely. Beautiful walking, biking, running trails along both sides of the river going downtown, and students are often using those for exercise, but also in the Urban Fellows program, we have students, biking out into the community to pursue their projects. And of course, there's the university's network of shuttles that allow students to get off campus and around the community, whether for entertainment or shopping, or to get to living off campus, as we have a significant number of upper class students who do live off campus as well. Leif, I also just want to thank you for giving that shout out to the different ways that students can pursue engagement. That, as an alumnus, that was my path as well. I served as an AmeriCorps member after graduation, and that led me to serving in the Peace Corps in Bolivia, South America. And I've enjoyed advising lots of students over the years who've pursued a similar pathway after graduation.
Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions coming into the Q&A or anything else in the chat, I will go ahead and drop my email in the chat. If any of the other presenters this evening want to go ahead and drop their emails in the chat as well, and if anyone wants to get in touch with any of us, I know I always welcome reach outs from students and parents alike, and so I'll put my email there now, and we'll give it a minute if anyone wants to copy emails down. But other than that, thank you all so much for coming this evening. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Glenn. And it's always nice to hear more about how students are getting off campus instead of just staying on campus all the time. Well, thank you all so much again. It's great having you here. And for those of you who are joining us from all over the place this evening, we hope to see you here at Rochester in the fall, and we'll have you there for Wilson Day right off the bat. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great night.